My girlfriend called me a loser for refusing to fund her shopping addiction. I left her, and now she's regretting everything. I'm 29. I met my girlfriend through mutual friends 2 years ago. At first, I found her confidence refreshing. She had this bubbly energy, always looking for the next sale at the mall or the next weekend getaway. Her style was impeccable. My sister used to joke that my girlfriend could make sweatpants look expensive. But somewhere along the line, her shopping habits started surpassing the boundaries of mere enthusiasm. She'd brag about maxing out store credit cards like it was a badge of honor. She'd roll her eyes whenever I talked about saving for a rainy day. I remember a conversation last summer that should have been a red flag. We were out grabbing coffee, and she mentioned a designer purse she'd been eyeing. "It's only $500, she said casually, as if that amount of money was a trivial expense. When I told her I was trying to stick to a budget for bigger goals like, eventually owning a house, she looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "You do realize life is for living, right?" was her retort. I brushed it off, thinking I was the one being uptight. In hindsight, that was my first clue. Things escalated after we moved in together 6 months ago. Our lease wasn't cheap, and we'd agreed to split rent roughly according to our incomes. But she began dropping hints about how much easier it'd be if I just took care of all the utilities too. She'd flash a sweet smile and say, "You're the numbers guy, you get it," like that was justification enough. At first, I tried to accommodate a bit. I covered more bills some months, thinking it was just a rough patch for her. But her bank statements told a different story. While she missed her share of rent 1 month, she somehow managed to snag new designer boots. The final straw came last week when I looked at our joint savings account, an account we'd established to plan vacations or possibly a future down payment. My heart pounded as I noticed multiple withdrawals, each for hundreds of dollars, all to retailers I recognized. When I confronted her, she scoffed, claiming, "It's my money too. I deserve nice things." I tried to remind her that we'd set this money aside together for important goals, not impulse spending. She rolled her eyes again and spat out, "What goals? You're too cheap to ever buy anything real. You're acting like a loser." I felt my stomach tighten. For a moment, I just stared at her, speechless, as she continued, "Seriously, if you can't handle a few purchases, maybe you're not ready to support someone like me." That single sentence jolted me awake. I realized she believed I existed to bankroll her lifestyle, and that her sense of entitlement overshadowed any genuine affection she might have had. It was the first time I truly wondered if her love for me was genuine or if she merely saw me as a human ATM. She stormed out that evening to hit another sale at the mall, leaving me with an apartment full of tension. I sat alone at the kitchen table, receipts scattered around, thinking about how I'd gotten into this mess and how I could possibly get out. Over the next few days, her demands intensified. She began leaving me notes, listing items she wanted me to buy for her. I'm talking extravagant wish lists, designer handbags, high-end makeup sets, shoes that cost more than my monthly car payment. When I politely refused, she'd rant about how other guys would happily spoil her. It was like she forgot every conversation we'd ever had about budgeting or saving for the future. Her sense of entitlement grew bolder with each argument. She tried a few dirty tricks to get her way too. One morning, I received a call from my bank asking to verify a suspicious charge. Apparently, she'd attempted to use my personal credit card, without telling me, to purchase some limited edition couture piece. The bank had flagged it due to the unusually high amount. When I confronted her about it, she played innocent. "It's not stealing if we're together," she scoffed, crossing her arms defiantly, as though that settled the matter. I wasted no time calling the bank back, canceling the card, and ensuring that transaction never went through. Later that evening, she invited 2 of her friends over, presumably to gang up on me. I overheard one of them say, "Why can't he just pay for it if he loves you?" They didn't realize I was right in the other room, listening. Another chimed in, "Yeah, he should be proud to spoil you." My girlfriend nodded along, beaming with satisfaction, and I knew then that she truly believed these toxic ideas. The apartment felt too small for the 3 of them and my mounting frustration. I put on my coat, snatched up my keys, and left. That was the first time I'd ever walked out of my own place because I couldn't stand the atmosphere. I drove around aimlessly, thinking about the relationship. The more I thought, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a mismatch in spending habits. It was a fundamental clash of values. I wanted a partner who believed in building a stable future together, sharing responsibilities, and respecting each other's money. She wanted a golden credit card with no limit. I remember times she called me a loser or cheapskate, always with that mocking smile. Yet I paid the rent, the bills, and most of our expenses, while she sank our shared funds into her closet. One day, a coworker noticed I looked stressed and asked what was wrong. I ended up spilling the whole situation, half embarrassed to admit my girlfriend's behavior. My coworker's reaction was immediate. "Dude, that's not normal. She's gaslighting you." He urged me to consider legal aspects, like how her name wasn't on my credit card accounts or how we'd never formalized any joint finances beyond that shared savings. If she kept messing with my cards, it could spell big trouble for me. His words echoed in my head. That same night, I called my father for advice. He's always been the practical type, and he told me plainly, if you stay, she'll drain you emotionally and financially. Is this the life you want? I didn't even have to think. No, it wasn't the life I wanted. When I returned home that night, she greeted me with a laundry list of insults, calling me lazy, unambitious, too content with my average job. Her voice was sharper than usual, as if she smelled the shift in my resolve. I said nothing, simply stared at her with a calmness that must have thrown her off. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a spare suitcase, and began packing some essentials. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, her tone high-pitched, bordering on panic. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I just zipped up the suitcase and said, "I'm leaving." She followed me to the door, eyes wide. "Leaving? You can't just walk out because of a little disagreement," she shrieked. "We'll talk this out tomorrow." But I was done. I told her our relationship had become toxic, that I was tired of being treated like a walking wallet, and that I refused to let her whittle away my savings. She tried one last act of manipulation. She grabbed her phone and threatened to call the police, saying I was abandoning her. I stared at her, incredulous. "You can't call the police on someone for moving out," I said flatly. She stomped her foot, realized that tactic wouldn't work, and then flopped onto the couch in a dramatic display, wailing about how I'd ruined her life. I walked out the door and headed to my parents' place. They offered me the spare bedroom for as long as I needed. It was strange being back in my childhood home, but it also felt safe. Over the next few days, I returned to our apartment only to gather more of my belongings. Each time, she tried a different angle, crying, threatening, or accusing me of being a pathetic nobody. I simply kept packing. Eventually, she ran out of insults and retreated to the bedroom, slamming the door so hard it rattled the frame. I then focused on ensuring she no longer had access to my finances. I went to my bank, explained the situation, and had her name removed from the joint savings. The banker needed a short explanation, and after hearing the gist, she nodded sympathetically. Next, I canceled any authorized user privileges she had on my credit cards. By the end of the day, I'd locked down everything. She could no longer siphon my accounts for her endless shopping sprees. The immediate aftermath was surreal. I expected to feel heartbreak, but mostly I felt relief. I informed the landlord I'd be breaking the lease, explaining that my girlfriend and I were separating. Thankfully, the landlord was understanding. He allowed me to pay a break fee rather than hold me to the full term. My father helped me hire a moving truck to collect the last of my furniture. On the day we showed up, my girlfriend had apparently gone out. I carefully packed what was mine, left her items in the bedroom. I felt a pang of sadness when I saw a few framed photos of us still on the dresser. But I reminded myself those pictures were of a version of her that no longer existed, maybe never existed in the first place. A few weeks passed. I settled into a routine at my parents', saving up for my next place. My mother was supportive, cooking me comfort meals like she did when I was a teenager. I felt a mix of embarrassment and gratitude, but it was good to have a caring environment while I got my bearings. Oddly enough, I started to rediscover old interests I'd neglected during the relationship, like going for morning runs or reading detective novels. It felt like reclaiming bits of my identity. Then the phone calls began. First, a tearful voicemail. "I'm so sorry. I was stressed. I didn't mean to call you a loser." Next, a text message barrage. "I messed up. Please come back. I need you." She claimed she was on the verge of bankruptcy, that her credit cards were declined, that she had no one else to turn to. The more I read, the more I realized she was just missing my financial safety net. She never once apologized for the emotional abuse or for insulting me. Instead, she fixated on her current predicament, trying to frame herself as a victim. One night, she even showed up at my parents' doorstep unannounced, dressed to the nines in a fancy coat she must have purchased before everything went south. My father answered, and she tried to charm him, claiming she'd make things right. He looked at her calmly and said, "That's between you and my son." Then he shut the door in her face. I felt a twinge of guilt. After all, we had shared some good times. But the way she casually demeaned me, belittled my career, and tried to exploit my finances was unforgivable. I realized I couldn't let pity reverse a decision that was clearly the best for me. The final confrontation came when she cornered me outside my workplace. She must have been waiting in her car, because the moment I stepped out, she rushed over, blocking my path. "You can't avoid me forever," she said, her voice trembling. "Listen, I know things got heated, but can't we try again?" Her desperation was palpable. She tried to slip her arm around mine like nothing had changed. I looked her in the eye. "We're done. You made it clear you see me as an ATM, not a partner." She tried to protest, stammering out excuses, that she was pressured by friends, that she never really meant to call me a loser, that she was just acting out. She even told me she'd go to counseling, do whatever it took. But I'd heard enough false promises. The moment she realized I wasn't budging, her mood flipped. She called me selfish, told me I'd never find anyone as hot or fun as her. That confirmed I'd made the right choice. I stepped around her and walked away. Eventually, word got around to our mutual acquaintances about what happened. Some of her friends tried to defend her. "She's not a bad person. She just loves shopping." Others shrugged, saying they weren't surprised. A couple of them even admitted she'd done similar stunts with past boyfriends, but never to this extreme. I felt a strange sense of validation hearing that. It meant this pattern wasn't new. She was simply adept at playing the victim whenever money dried up. After a few more weeks of radio silence, she sent me a final message. "I regret everything. Please take me back. I've changed." I took a deep breath and deleted it without responding. It felt like severing the last tie. Looking back, the entire ordeal taught me a harsh lesson about entitlement and the dangers of letting someone steamroll your boundaries. When she called me a loser for refusing to fund her lifestyle, she revealed exactly how she viewed me. It stung at first, but in the end, it's better to endure that sting than to spend a lifetime under someone's financial thumb. I've since moved into a cozy studio apartment, just enough space for me and a fresh start. My father helped me pick out some modest but comfortable furniture, and I'm enjoying the peacefulness of having control over my own finances. No more nights of anxiety wondering if she'd drain our account for another shopping spree. No more passive-aggressive jabs at my lack of ambition. I feel free.